Hello, and welcome back to Ask a Newsworker. Today is a very significant news day. I'm recording this on September 8th, 2022. Queen Elizabeth II of England has died. Rest in peace to her. It's a very big news story. It's a news story that is dominating a lot of the attention of news outlets, of news consumers around the world, not just in the English language, but in other languages too. It's a very, very big, I would say, international news story. And one of the strange things that happens on days like today, when a really big, dominating story seems to take over everything, seems to take all the attention from everyone, from every news outlet out there, where 80 to 90% or more of the coverage is dedicated to one particular thing. A strange thing happens where other news stories that may be quite significant themselves, might be quite dramatic, quite shocking, are either ignored or not picked up at all, or just don't see the distribution that they otherwise would. And sometimes this sort of thing is deliberate. A lot of people don't like thinking about this. A lot of people don't like admitting this, especially the people who are involved in this sort of behavior. But there are a lot of institutions, organizations, governments, corporations around the world who actually wait for days like this, for, say, the day of the death of Queen Elizabeth, for all the news coverage that surrounds it. They actually wait for days like this to publish awkward, strange, uncomfortable, or potentially incriminating information, because they know that it probably won't get noticed very much. It probably won't get picked up very much. It might get lost in the fog of everything else. So much attention is being paid to Queen Elizabeth, her memory, reactions to her death, what happens next for the British monarchy, that a lot of very serious or important stories can literally go overlooked. Like, people don't see them. They're out there. They've been published. They're put on the public record, but a lot of people don't see them and are maybe shocked to be told about them weeks or even years later, because they didn't know it happened, because it happened on a very significant day. There was something that happened years and years ago, shortly after 9/11, the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City, where it was some organization. If I can dig up the link, if I can dig up the story, I will, and I'll certainly post it. I unfortunately don't have it on hand right now, but I remember reading that I think a memo leaked from a certain organization. I want to say a British organization, I could be wrong, that actually instructed the members of the organization. I think it might have been, again, some sort of institution, some sort of sensitive agency or something, where they actually said, if you want to get something on the public record, do it today, do it now, because they knew that September 11th being such a massive story. I remember it. I was younger at the time, but I certainly remember it was just wall to wall, everything. It was dominating news coverage and discussion all across television, all across the internet. I mean, channels that were not even dedicated to the news. I remember like country music television had shots of the World Trade Center smoldering in New York City. It was very shocking, very dramatic. It was a day where all this attention was focused on one particular thing. And while most people, let's say normal people, were in mourning or in shock or wondering what had happened, what's going to happen next, there are other people, say more PR-minded people, who are thinking, oh, this is a great opportunity for us to publish something that's embarrassing or awkward, because we know that it probably won't get noticed or picked up. This is the perfect time to do that. And again, that sounds wrong. That might even sound gross or sick. I'm uncomfortable with it, but I know it happens because some people are waiting for the cover. They're waiting for the cover of coverage, which sounds strange. They're waiting for massive, overwhelming coverage of one particular thing to distract the public from something else that they maybe don't want getting a lot of attention, but they also want it to be in the public sphere so they can say they publicize it, like, oh, well, we put it out there. We published it. It's in public, but there's a lot of things that have been published that people don't know about or haven't noticed because no one's brought their attention to it. There's a lot of public information that hasn't been turned into reporting or hasn't gotten wide distribution that the public therefore doesn't know about and can't act upon, because the news outlets in question, the news consumers, might have been completely swayed or distracted in a moment to not even know what was going on. So on a day like today, as you mourn Queen Elizabeth, as you reflect upon her life, I also think that there may be things being published that deserve your attention too, that are also very important, that aren't getting nearly as much coverage because her story is so huge, so dominating, and understandably so, because she was, again, a very beloved and influential, celebrated, significant figure. It's no disrespect to her. All I'm saying is that there are people operating in the news media or through the news media who are waiting for a day of massive, overwhelming coverage to get something into the public eye, to publish something so it's out there, while knowing that it probably won't get noticed. So try to do this yourself if you're watching or reading the news or browsing the news online during a really big news day. See if you can find specific stories that might strike you as shocking or surprising or very significant that are not being picked up for some reason. Sometimes it's a coincidence. Sometimes a bunch of crazy things happen in one day at the same time for whatever reason. Coincidences are possible, yes, despite what some people say. But in some cases, it's because an organization or a group thought this is a good time for us to put this out there. This is a good time for us to publish because it probably won't get as much heat, probably won't get as much attention. I mean, there have been situations even in normal news days or normal news weeks where, say, a government wants to publish something that they know is a little sensitive, or say new policy, new plan, new proposal. They know the public might not be too happy about it. So they'll publish the release, or they'll release the information like late Friday when we're heading into the weekend and a lot of people aren't going to be looking at the news as much. They're going to be trying to have fun with their families or their friends. So there's a lot that goes into the timing of certain published information. News outlets themselves sometimes think like, when should we publish this? Is this better to do it now or later? There's people who are really being careful, really being very, even plotting, even scheming. I don't think that's too strong of a word. They're being very careful, very specific about when they publish certain information, because they know that some days and times are more convenient for them than others. They want it to be out in the public eye. They want to be able to say, hey, we published it, it's out there, but they don't want too many people seeing it. So they'll do it on a day like today, or a horrible day like 9/11. Again, it's gross. I don't like it. If you're watching this and going, how is this happening? I feel the same way. It's very uncomfortable. It's maybe even unethical, immoral, maybe. Probably in some cases for sure, but it happens. So do some people take advantage of big news days to sneak stories out into the public eye that they hope don't get too much attention and that they know will not, because of the nature of the big story that's dominating everyone's attention? Yes. Unfortunately, it does happen. And it's just something to be aware of. Because, hey, that's what this channel is all about. Making you aware of what is possible through the media. That's it. That's all I'm trying to do. Just raise awareness. Get you thinking about how the media is, how it operates, what it is, what's common, what's possible. And this is another example of that. Tell me how you feel about it. Do you think it's right? Do you think it's wrong? Do you think it's weird? Do you think it makes sense? Whatever your thoughts, whatever your opinions, please post them in the comments below or send me an email, and keep on watching right here. Ask a Newsworker.